70, co-presented by Amity University, India's leading private university, and Hero Honda, Desh Ki Dhadkan.
This is Network 18, and you are watching CNN IBN.
Next on CNN IBN, our show Devil's Advocate. Before that, check of our headlines this hour. In Pakistan, a teenage suicide bomber targets a mosque in Chakwal, rural Punjab, killing over 35. Prime Minister Gilani calls for an all-party dialogue on terrorism.
एक कम्युनल एजेंडा फैलाते जा रहा है हमारे देश में और अब उसको दोबारा यूपी में चला रहा है। मैं उनके खिलाफ हूँ, मैं उनसे लड़ूंगी और मैं लखनऊ के उम्मीदवार बन के आऊंगी।
Nafiza Ali gets the Samajwadi Party ticket from Lucknow in place of Sanjay Dutt. She contested the last Lok Sabha elections on a Congress ticket from Bengal. And Obama leads the furious international debate over a North Korean rocket launch, says it's a missile that could reach as far as Alaska. Beijing calls it a satellite.
Brought to you by SL. It's time to move on. Enterprise solutions from Microsoft to control costs. Tata AIG Life Investor Sure Apex returns on the highest NAV guaranteed. MyITReturns.com. Reed and Taylor, bond with the best. Jindal Global Law School, India's first global law school, offers 3-year and 5-year law program. And iBall Lappy, enhancing laptop computing. Lappy time, happy time.
Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate and an interview with the chief election strategist of the Bharatiya Janata Party and also one of its most important general secretaries, Arun Jaitley. Mr. Jaitley, in the last 10 or 14 days, the press has been full of stories of BJP candidates who are making hate speeches, or Jaswant Singh, who's been giving money to people in his son's constituency but says he's done nothing wrong, or people like Neera Yadav who are accused of corruption but have been made members of your party, or even Manoj Pradhan, who's reported to have 7 murder cases against him, but has been made one of your party's candidates in Orissa. And people ask, is this a deliberate strategy on the part of the BJP, or is it desperation?
I think it's the other way around. You see, the media has a right, and I'm conceding that right to you and to the rest of the media, to judge us by the standards we profess. You have, let's say, the candidates like some of the biggest mafias in UP and Bihar, either contesting themselves for a BSP, SP, Lokdal, LJP ticket, or those who can't contest putting up their wives. And these are people who've been convicted. The Samajwadi tried to put up somebody who's been convicted. The normal habit is the media will not judge those parties by any kind of ethical standards because they know they don't display those kind of standards.
You have high standards, you get judged by those high standards.
Therefore, since we have been professing high standards, I think it's our duty to maintain those high standards. And even if we are found to err marginally, then people are entitled to tell us, are you not living up to the standards you profess?
All right.
For example, let me just complete this sentence. I looked after BJP in 2 elections in Bihar, which at that time had a notorious reputation. After Nitish Kumar has now cleaned up that reputation. We made sure that out of the 104 assembly seats we contest, we don't give our seats to people with a criminal image.
Perfect. You say you set high standards, so the media has a right to criticize you when you don't live up to them. In that event, let me ask you this. Is it fitting that someone like Neera Yadav, who was removed by the Supreme Court from her post as Chief Secretary of UP, who is considered by her own peers to be the second most corrupt IAS officer in the state, should be made a member of the BJP?
You see, I am given to understand that a husband who's a former legislator and a former minister in the BJP government in UP rejoined the BJP, and at that function she accompanied him. Most of us are unaware that she's a member. She probably is not a member. That's what we've been told.
Can I interrupt? She was inducted by your party president,
See, the
Rajnath Singh.
The function was essentially to a part of the campaign where a husband who's a former minister came back, who doesn't have these cases. She has accompanied him. We have not given her a ticket. We have not made her an activist. We have not made her an office bearer. There's no responsibility assigned. She accompanied him, and therefore this confusion was created. But I don't want to go into this question of personalities X or Y. The fact that people in the BJP are concerned about this, the fact that you are asking me about it, I think is a proof enough that even on a case where a person is not being assigned a responsibility, there is still a concern that people who join my party should be people who can at least inspire confidence.
If the BJP is concerned about even the belief that Neera Yadav has joined your party, leave aside the fact that your own party president inducted her, then to what extent is the BJP concerned by the fact that someone like Manoj Pradhan, who according to the Indian Express faces 7 murder charges, is your candidate from Udaigari?
I've also read about this case. I don't know the details of this particular case, but let me tell you, after Swamiji's murder in Orissa, there have been these trade districts where almost thousands of people belonging to the BJP had been charge sheeted and had been prosecuted and FIRs registered against them. I am not aware whether some of these cases are in the relation to some hard crime they've created, or are these cases in relation to a participation in a protest. For example, let me just answer your question by a very simple illustration. I can understand Varun Gandhi and his speech-making controversy, but the Mayawati government has put him for attempt to murder, national security. Now, surely in these 2 later cases, you won't ask me the same question in relation to these 2 later cases as you are putting it in the case of Pradhan.
I'll come to Varun Gandhi in a moment's time. Let me tell you why Pradhan is an important case for the BJP to answer, because the BJP considers itself a party morally superior to others. You in fact call yourselves a party with a difference. Now, Sudha Singh, the DSP of Ballygodha in Orissa, has gone on record to say that Manoj Pradhan faces 7 murder cases out of 10 charges altogether. This is something that is so well known in Orissa. For you to have chosen him is to have overlooked this.
I am certainly going to find this out. Are these in relation to some hardcore crimes that he's been committing, or are these in relation to a part of a protest that the party had organized after Swamiji's assassination? And I have a lurking suspicion, I don't have material to say that, but I'll certainly check it out and get back to you in a future program whether it's in relation to other later.
All right, let's come to Mr. Jaswant Singh, a colleague of yours in the Rajya Sabha, in fact the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha. When he was seen on television giving 100-rupee notes to people in his son's constituency, not only did he first say that he had done nothing wrong, but then on television he said that if the law differs, the law is to be assumed to be an ass.
Well, I don't think you're being fair to Jaswant Singh ji.
I'm quoting him exactly.
Mr. Jaswant Singh is a man who's maintained utmost probity in public life. All that they have said is, I've read his son's statement, that this is a matter where there is a convention in Rajasthan that if somebody asks you for assistance, or there are folk dancers whom you give money after their performance, they touch your feet, this is not considered a bribery in the sense of election law.
Except that after the model code of conduct has come into effect, it's his interpretation vis-a-vis the interpretation of
I think the election commission,
I
think the election commission is going into this question. It would be best we leave it to the election commission to decide the issue.
Let me put it like this. I've talked to you about Neera Yadav, I've talked to you about Manoj Pradhan, I've talked to you about Jaswant Singh. There are also elements of the BJP who've been accused, most importantly Varun Gandhi, of making hate speeches. Suddenly, the party that believes it's a party with a difference is becoming a party that has to make 100 excuses. Your moral image, just when it should be shining, is blemished.
I come back to what I had said. Since we claim to be a party with a difference, you are entitled to pick up and start examining minute details and then say, well, this is one black spot on you. None of you were very deeply concerned where you had 8 ministers with a tainted record in Dr. Manmohan Singh's cabinet, and he spent the last 5 years getting the CBI to subvert each one of the 8
because
cases.
Because Congress doesn't claim to be superior, you do.
Well, I'm glad you say that. Therefore,
claim.
I'm glad you say that for the reason, if 8 tainted ministers had CBI subverting to remove their cases, the media is not concerned. But if there is a controversy whether somebody was giving it to a folk dancer or he was bribing a voter, this itself would be a great calamity. Well, I think the media also has to be a little fair to us. By and large, the BJP has maintained standards of probity in its governments, which are much better than any political party.
You say by and large and you want fairness, but let me remind you that the BJP manifesto, which was launched in Delhi on Wednesday, on its cover, and Mr. Advani drew attention to this fact, itemizes 3 principles that you stand for. Right at the top, the most important is good governance. How can you deliver good governance if your officials, if your candidates, if your party members are involved in morally compromising situations?
Well,
if you can't be certain of the honesty of your own people, where does good governance come in?
Well, I'm very glad you raised this question. It's a point of view which I have personally always expressed outside and within the party, and we have a freedom to do so, that we must bring in those people who are in politics, who exercise the kind of power which can be exercised only by men of great integrity and ethics, and not by people who are given it to these kind of moral aberrations.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's widely known that you have fought a problem with your party over an issue to do with the appropriateness and suitability of people who are appointed to office.
Well,
aren't you today, given the examples I've quoted, a little embarrassed by what your party
Well,
did?
I would be happier if these incidents had not taken place, but I am still satisfied for two reasons. One, we are a party which is democratic, where you have freedom to raise these issues, and you can still be working for the campaign of the party. Secondly, campaigns of this kind will perhaps strengthen those who want to cleanse up the entire political system.
All right, one last question before I take a break. I told you I'll come back to Varun Gandhi. I want to now bring up Varun Gandhi. He's widely accused in the public eye of making vile and hateful comments about the Muslim community, and yet the Hindustan Times and Mail Today and perhaps other papers have quoted L.K. Advani to have equated Varun Gandhi with Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Jayaprakash Narayan. How do you explain that?
Well, I think in analyzing media, you are probably cleverer than me. And this is perhaps one of the silliest pieces of journalism I have seen. Mr. Advani makes a statement, you don't detain candidates under National Security Act during elections. During the emergency, he says, JP and Vajpayee were detained. And some two newspapers come up and say, well, is Varun Gandhi Jayaprakash Narayan? I think if this is the understanding of the front pages of these two esteemed papers, I can tell you, I'll have to read, they'll probably have to reassess their editorial
In which
policies.
case, clarify something for me before I take a break. Are you saying today unequivocally and in crystal clear terms that there's no sense in which Varun Gandhi is the equal of Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Jayaprakash Narayan?
They were legends in politics. He's a beginner in politics. I think all that Mr. Advani said was, during a campaign, you don't detain candidates. It's a bad precedent. It happened during the emergency. Let it not happen now. I think the comparison begins and ends with that.
All right, let's take a break at that point. I want to come back and talk to you about the BJP manifesto, which was released in Delhi on Friday. We'll be back in a moment's time. See you after the break.
Someone is there to nurture the 1,000 dreams set in those twinkling eyes. India's largest scholarship program by Amity University.
Objectionable to say the least.
₹1 crore की टोकन में नहीं आई थी।
2 बार जसवंत सिंह जी बड़ी घूस देने आए।
I don't feel very safe in Delhi,
not
especially
be allowed to go home at 3 in the morning, and that is frustrating.
English जानते ना, they have no legitimacy.
वैलेंटाइन से हम बैन करने वाले हैं।
आंदोलन की राजनीति ही सच्चाई दिखा सकती है।
अपील करना चाहता हूँ पुनर्वास के काम में।
कोई परवाह मध्य प्रदेश को मनमोहन सिंह की सरकार को गिरा दो और मुलायम सिंह को प्रधानमंत्री बना दो।
अमर सिंह ने खुद कहा है।
Bajaj Allianz presents India Can, India Will, a CNN, IBM and Hindustan Times joint initiative, Monday to Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Presented by Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, SMS Super to 56070. Co-presented by Amity University, India's leading private university. And Hero Honda, Desh Ki Dhadkan.
तो विलायत में मौसम कैसा है होने वाले दामाद जी?
मौसम बर्फ पड़ रही है।
शगुन की थाली इंतजार कर रही है, कब आ रहे हो?
कल हवाई जहाज से कट्टू ससुराल।
ये हमारी ओर से, ये विलायत से। बिंगो इंटरनेशनल क्रीम एंड अनियन। ये विलायती है।
ये इंटरनेशनल है।
अपना बिंगो विलायत में भी मिलता है।
बिंगो का नया इंटरनेशनल क्रीम एंड अनियन, मेड इन इंडिया और टेस्ट इसका ट्रूली इंटरनेशनल।
पासपोर्ट देखो तो।
बिंगो, नो कंफ्यूजन, ग्रेट कॉम्बिनेशन।
Getting out of here, I'll take the rough way out, 'cause I'm a wanderer, I can tread anywhere, I'll take the rough way out, 'cause I'm a wanderer, but I could tread anywhere, 'cause I'm a wanderer.
MRF Wanderer. Tread anywhere.
उफ, अब क्या होगा? कितनी कराई थे, पानी फिर गया, मैच कैंसिल। कुनूर चले for one night? कितनी दूर है?
5 hour drive. और बोलो?
एयरसेल की दुनिया में बहुत कुछ मुमकिन है।
It's time to move on. और बोलो?
Your security is incomplete without United India. United India Insurance Company Limited. Solutions that bring back smiles real fast.
Presented by Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, SMS Super to 56070. Co-presented by Amity University, India's leading private university. And Hero Honda, Desh Ki Dhadkan.
This is Network 18, and you are watching CNN IBN.
Welcome back to Devil's Advocate with the Chief Election Strategist of the BJP, General Secretary Arun Jaitley. Arun Jaitley, on Friday the BJP presented its manifesto in Delhi. It was the first manifesto the party has launched in 11 years. But in 2004, you came up with a vision statement which at the time Pramod Mahajan repeatedly in public said would last for 20 years. So which takes precedence, the manifesto launched on Friday or the vision statement?
I think times change. There's no fundamental difference in the structure and the basic points of the two.
Forgive me, there's a huge difference.
But the requirement of the day brings about certain additionalities.
Well, no,
and those additionalities are brought into this manifesto.
Let me take you up on that, because you see, first of all, even when times change, visions don't. But more importantly, when you say there's no fundamental difference, there is considerable difference. To give you an example, on Article 370, your manifesto says that the BJP is committed to its abrogation. Article 370 wasn't even mentioned in the vision statement.
No, you see, I'll tell you. We have conventionally been releasing BJP manifestos. In 2004, we called it a vision statement. And we've also been releasing what are called agendas of governance. Normally, subject to your verifying this, normally in the agenda for governance, we mention only points of agreement like a common minimum program, which the NDA allies all agree to.
But this was not an NDA document, this was the BJP vision statement.
In a manifesto, a BJP manifesto or our vision statements, if you see the earlier ones also, our basic core issues of beliefs are generally mentioned, even though unless we get a majority, they may not be implementable because we go by the NDA.
No, forgive me, I have to interrupt you. You say your basic core beliefs are generally mentioned. I've just pointed out to you that Article 370, which is a fundamental core belief, was ignored in the vision statement.
I don't think whether you mention it or you don't mention it makes any difference, because the BJP has never given up its belief on Article 370.
But you did in your vision statement of 370.
I don't think BJP has ever given up these beliefs, and I'm categorically clarifying it to you today.
Then let's come to your second important belief, the Universal Civil Code. In your vision statement, you said categorically that this cannot come into being unless one has a social and political consensus in its favor.
I even today believe it. I even today believe it.
But you may believe it, but that's not what your manifesto says today. Suddenly,
let's not hair split.
No, I'm not hair splitting.
Assuming the BJP were to get a majority on its own, even then, before bringing in a uniform civil code, it's not going to be beliefs of one religion which are going to be enforced. It will require a larger consensus.
But there's a different phraseology that's in your manifesto that was launched on Friday.
Let's go to the substance of what we believe in.
But you're not letting me finish. Your manifesto says that the BJP will set up a commission to draft a uniform civil code. You didn't mention that in the vision statement. In the vision statement, you only talked about the need of creating a social and political consensus. Now you've ditched the consensus. You've gone on to establishing a commission. Suddenly, you've hardened your belief and you've changed your position.
Any government of the day which brings changes in personal laws certainly consults communities. When I was a law minister, I brought basic changes to the Indian Divorce Act, which is the law applicable to the Christians. Now, it was only after a consensus with the church that we were able to do that. There is no question of forcing this on people. You discuss with people, you bring out the best points of the law that you require, and then you bring these about.
Right, let me put it like this. The manifesto that was launched in Delhi on Friday is clearly the manifesto of an ideologically committed party. And you agree, You agree, you're nodding your head with agreement. But what Mr. Advani said on the 25th of March 2004 is very different. He said a country as vast and pluralistic as India cannot be ruled by an ideological party. So suddenly, the manifesto launched on Friday contradicts what Mr. Advani said 5 years ago.
I don't think so. I think when you say that ideological parties, Mr. Advani's statement consistently has been that you take up your ideological positions, but when it comes to ruling the country, a lot of it depends on ideals and idealism. It's a statement which he has been making consistently over the last 10 years in that context. So please don't confuse that with any form of dilution of the BJP's ideology.
So you know what you're saying? The ideology is okay at the manifesto level, but when it comes to ruling, it's ditched for what you call ideals and idealism.
No,
suddenly the ideology doesn't affect ruling.
I am not saying that. Even in regard to our ideology, when you are in governance, you have the responsibility of the governance, and therefore you will try and bring a larger consensus before you can implement some of those points.
The truth is that the three cardinal principles of Article 370, the Uniform Civil Code and the Ram Temple, were part of the BJP's ideology right up till 1998, but then they were jettisoned and put in the back burner so that you could form the NDA. It's going to happen again. Why bother with a manifesto and committing yourself when you can't implement it?
Well, the truth, if I put it slightly differently, is not that we jettisoned our beliefs. The truth is that we don't get an absolute majority as a BJP, we get it in an NDA, and therefore governance is as per the strength and the manifesto or the agenda of the NDA.
But you know you're not going to get an absolute majority as the BJP. You know you're dependent on the NDA.
Well, the CPM knows that it doesn't get an absolute majority, so it doesn't give up its leftist economic principles. The Akali Dal knows it doesn't get a majority. It doesn't still give up the Anandpur Sahib resolution. Political parties in the electorate, in the elections, don't give up their ideology. When they form a government, their agenda for governance is what is implementable, keeping in mind the structure of the government.
Except for the fact you're a party with a difference. You're an honest party, you're a transparent party, one hopes. And what you're doing by this manifesto is to delude the faithful. You're convincing them of the possibility, knowing that it's impossible.
An ideology represents the ideological personality and the direction of that party. If the party doesn't get a majority on its own and it forms a coalition government, it's a hard reality of politics. You can't implement what others don't accept. You will implement what the others agree to.
Let me point out what Nitish Kumar said exactly a week ago on the 26th of March. He says, we want the Ayodhya issue to be solved either through talks or court decision. Your manifesto holds open the possibility of legislation. He's against it. And then he continues, there should not be anything like abrogating Article 370 or Common Civil Code. Now, as far as he's concerned, your manifesto is a no, no, no.
Let me answer you clearly on all the 3 points. If you read our manifesto this time on Ayodhya, it is not different from what Nitish Kumar has said. It is almost identical to what we had said in the NDA agenda.
No, forgive me, I have to interrupt you because your manifesto on Ayodhya says the BJP will explore all possibilities, including negotiations and judicial proceedings. And all possibilities
according to me,
includes the possibility of legislation.
I
He's
think
excluding
that is what you are trying to bring in to create a problem between me and Nitish Kumar, probably which you won't.
Then what does all possibilities mean?
Well, all possibilities specifies these 2 possibilities at the moment.
No, it says including.
Not, but we haven't mentioned.
Not limited to.
Well, we haven't mentioned any third possibility here. Now, let me come to the second.
So that's
let's not hair split. Let's come to the substance. Ayodhya, our manifesto says exactly what the NDA agenda in 2004 said. Uniform Civil Code, we've said exactly what the Constitution said we must try to do under Article 44. On Article 370, we've said exactly what the Constitution has been saying since 1950. It's a transient and temporary provision. One day it has to go. And therefore, what we say on these 2 issues, the later 2, is probably on the right side of the Constitution. The rest of the politics may think different.
In which case, why put it on the back burner to form a government? It's even more bizarre that if your position is constitutionally correct and morally correct, it's even more bizarre that you put it on the back burner.
There's a logical, hard reality answer to this. I don't have a 2/3 majority to amend the Constitution.
But you're casting principles to the winds to try and form a government, power before principles.
I am aware of this hardcore reality. I can't do it till I have a majority in Parliament. If I go on an alliance with others, which is a reality which I am going, I have to agree on a common agenda.
So very quickly, power is more important than principles? Power is more important than truth and ideology?
Well, I think the reality is your strength must dictate the reality. And the strength is when you have a majority, you can probably enforce your ideas through government. If you don't have a majority, you agree on the common minimum program. The country must have governance, and that's a reality. I'm sure you know.
Governance at any cost. Arun Jaitley, a pleasure talking to you.